Maybe. Hello and welcome back to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host, Jeremiah Long, and producer, and joining me to talk about the Texas Longhorns versus the Oklahoma Sooners in this college football game preview is our real host, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, bro?
Oh, Jeremiah, we got a good one this morning, my friend. This is commonly referred to the Red River Showdown, the Red River Shootout, the Red River Class, whatever you want to call it. It's Texas and Oklahoma, two of the best teams in the country, going at it, duking it out this upcoming Saturday. Oh, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be high scoring. I can't wait to get into it, man.
Well, I can't wait for it. And everybody watching, I know you can't wait for it. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow all of our channels. And make sure you listen to that podcast. We've got an amazing podcast. We put out new podcasts every single week. Just look up 100 Yards of Football anywhere you listen to podcasts and join us over there. We're having a great time. So, Mr. Logan Landers, tell us the Longhorns and the Sooners, Red River Shootout, Red River Showdown. Let's go. Tell us what we have to look forward to this week.
All right, well, let's talk about Oklahoma, the number 6 ranked team in the country. I believe so. They are on a roll. Man, you can't get much better than that. So last week they faced off against the Kansas State Wildcats, a team that has shocked them before, has beaten them in previous seasons, and they almost did it again, Jeremiah. Oklahoma barely escaped by the skin of their teeth, 37-31. So it was a win, but going up, you're the number 6 ranked team in the country facing Kansas State, who, while they are 3-2, they're not ranked. You would have hoped that would have been a higher scoring game, that Oklahoma would have blew the doors open and beat them by 20 and not by 6. But nonetheless, they got the job done on the day. Of course, Oklahoma, they're led by their, main quarterback, Spencer Rattler, had a good day, 22 of 25 completion, looking great, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So overall, a very good day for him. For the rushing game, Kennedy Brooks led the way, 91 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 6th average per rush. So looking great there, just trying to get through, bobbing and weaving through that Kansas State defense, looking great. Also, Jeremiah Hall had a touchdown on the day for that running core. For the receiving core, one guy who really stood out, Marvin Mims, 4 catches for 71 yards, led the team 17.8 average, looked great, including a big 40-yard bomb that got him on the day. For fumbles, they had 2 on the day. They recovered 1 of those. So you got to hope that they can definitely clean that up, because we talked about in previous games that turnovers they can beat you in the end. And I mean, I get they only had 2, but still, you got to hope that they can get a little bit cleaner going up against Texas, who I know is trying to beat them. For the defense, like I said, they gave up 31 points, which is a little bit too much, I would think, if you are an Oklahoma Sooner. But Pat Fields led the way with 9 tackles on the day. 1 sack, which I would have thought that they would have had a little bit more against Kansas State, but they only had 1. 8 tackles for losses, too. So it was a close game, but like I mentioned, it just seems that whenever these two in previous seasons go up against each other, that Kansas State just always has a little bit extra fight to them. They always want to get that big upset victory, and they almost did. I mean, they only lost by 6, which is, commendable loss. If you want to lose by a close margin. And I mean, let's face it, KSU was marching down the field in the fourth quarter. They were down 34-17 in the fourth. They came back and only lost by 6. And I mean, if they had a little bit of time left, maybe another 5 minutes, who knows? We could have been talking about an upset last week. We could have been talking about Kansas State getting another win against Oklahoma. But let's go over to Texas, man. What did Texas do last week? Well, they're kind of like Oklahoma, Jeremiah. They barely got the win last week. Texas won against the TCU Horned Frogs, one of the best names in college football, by the way. They only won 32-27. So both of these teams, while they are, in the top 25, Oklahoma being in the top 6, and Texas, I believe, are 21 at the moment, man, you got to think that both of these teams are coming in the next week and facing off against each other in a big rivalry, and just hoping that they can get some more points on the board their defenses can step up a little bit stronger. But Texas, they did get the win. Casey Thompson, 12 of 22, so not the greatest in terms of passing. One touchdown, one interception for 142 yards. So not the best day on the for Mr. Thompson. But the rushing game is really where Texas made their money. And that was led by, of course, Robinson, man. Bijan Robinson, 35 carries, had a big load for 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 6.2 average per carry. So he was looking great on this past Saturday. Definitely helped lead the way, get a victory for the Longhorns. Jordan Whittington led the way in terms of receiving yards with 79 and a touchdown. So he was their big threat, including a large 37-yard for his reception. That was his longest on the day. Texas had a few fumbles as well, but they were able to recover a good bit of them. So both these teams, man, they both just they had trouble hanging onto the ball a little bit last week. So you got to think that that's going to be one of their main emphasis going into their battle this upcoming week. That's what the coaching staffs are drilling into them. Just hold on to that football and do not let go for dear life. For the defense, DeMarvion Overshone led the way with 10 tackles on the day, 8 of them being by himself. Only 1 sack, which you like with Oklahoma, you would have thought they would have got a little bit more. And they had a total of only 3 tackles for losses. So Oklahoma had the better defense last week. We'll see if Texas is a little bit more fired up this week and they see what they're going to do against each other. So, I mean, like I said, this is a classic matchup. Oklahoma's won the last 3 meetings between these two. Texas does have the all-time advantage by about 10 plus, but it's always going to be a close one, man. This is always kind of a shootout. They're fighting for the 10-gallon hat, the gold hat. I mean, that's a great trophy to win between these two because you always see these rivalries where they get these great trophies, these kind of unknown prizes they get. I mean, the 10-gallon hat, you can't get much better than that between these two Southern teams. So it's a close one, honestly. I think both these schools are going to put a lot of points. I think that when I'm looking at the two teams, comparing them, they both put up about 40 points a game. Oklahoma at 38, Texas at 43. Their defenses, surprisingly, they're pretty good. Oklahoma allows 19 points a game. Texas with 24. They put up a bunch of yards, Jeremiah. They both put up over 400 yards a game between the two of them combined. Texas almost getting close to 500. They have 472. But I think that the big key is the defense because both these schools allow a lot of rushing yards, allow a lot of yards, but they might not allow the most points. They both allow over 300 yards a game. So in the end, man, this is always kind of a toss-up because both these schools want to get this win bad. But I'm going to give, I think, the slight edge to Oklahoma in this one, get the Sooners. They're trying to fight their way into that top 4 to get into the college football playoff. They're right at the verge of it, and they desperately need this win if they want to keep in that position, if they want to try and get in the college football playoff at the end of the year, because we are going into week 6. So we are getting a little bit closer to the end of the year. So, like I said, this was going to be a high-scoring affair. There's not going to be a lot of defense played. So if you are a big defensive-minded person like our guy Kevin the Bull Jones, you might want to look away from this game. You're going to have some nightmares. Oh, man, what's the score for this one going to be? Whew. I think Oklahoma is going to get the win, like I said. Man, I think Oklahoma, they're going to put up, 56. They're going to put up a lot of points. And Texas, 45. I want this one to be a big scoring affair. I don't want any defense to get played. I don't want no defense, no interceptions, no fumbles. I want this one to be the name of this rivalry. I want it to be a Red River shootout, and I got Oklahoma getting the win in this one, getting their winning streak in this rivalry continuing. And I think they're going to win, and they're going to put up a lot of points and a lot of yards. I can't wait to watch this football game this upcoming Saturday.
I am with you on that one. Whew. Yeah, Red River Showdown, Got to get that gold 10-gallon hat.
Yeah.
It's one of those rivalries that does go back and back, and thankfully, as some rivalries can kind of wane in times where one of the teams isn't doing very well, these two teams have held their own, and this has continued to be legendary. I don't care if you're a Sooners fan or you're a Longhorns fan, you love watching these two teams go at each other with this classic rivalry, the fanfare on the, down on the ground. It's got to be some of the most amazing tailgating you can imagine when it comes to these two teams, and I just can't wait for it. Well, everybody's watching. Tell us, what do you think the final score will be? And we just want to say thank you for all of your likes, shares, comments, and for telling everybody about 100 Yards of Football. Telling your friends and family about 100 Yards of Football has been the best way that we've grown so quickly this year. And if you're listening to our podcast, thank you so much. But if you're not listening to our podcast, what are you waiting on? Grab your Spotify app, pull it up, type in 100 Yards of Football, and we will pop up just like this. Or take us anywhere that you want on podcasts. We're on Apple Podcast, we're on Stitcher, we're on our Believe Podcast Network page, and we're anywhere that you want to listen to podcasts. We will be there for you. You can even use your home devices and ask them and be like, hey, I would say it, but it'll trigger my own home device. Be like, hey, I want to listen to 100 Yards of Football podcast, and it will pop up for you immediately. You'll start hearing our amazing coverage, and we don't just do game previews. We also have legendary interviews with the players that played the game. We have history specials where we tell you all about the classic games, classic players and teams, and we just have a lot of fun. We put out a new podcast pretty much every day, and we'd love to have you with us in the morning when you're on your way to work, at work, when you're coming home from work, or if you drive in a car all day long in your job. We'll keep you company, and you can learn some great stuff about football. And honestly, if you're not even a giant football fan, you might just like what we have to say in here, because we keep it fun and we keep it interesting, and we just have a lot of great things going on. So thank you so much to everyone who's watching and listening to our podcast through the years. We've been doing this for a long time, and our host, Vincent Turner, started the show over 10 years ago over on AM radio. So we have been here, and we will be here for you in the future. And in that same vein, thank you so much to our host, Logan Landers, for bringing us this preview of Texas versus Oklahoma. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and we'll be right back with another live video.